We are live.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to definitely different podcast with Wynne-Jones. I'm just going to quickly grab the plug for my computer. Yes, so Wynne-Jones is an Access Consciousness certified facilitator and is also an XMen certified facilitator. And I have met you, I can't even remember, like a while ago. And one of the things that really, I don't even like have words for it. But you're like so different than most people that I ever know. You are a man, and you definitely are like a gentleman. But it's like when I talk to you or when I'm around you, I don't really have the feeling that you are, and it makes me like it's like you can be anything and anyone. And you have like this capacity where you just like melt all barriers, but in a very nice, beautiful, vulnerable way where there's like no pretense, there's no hiding, there's such beautiful vulnerability. And
Wow.
so, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen,
you.
this is Sil.
Thanks so much. Yeah, that's really lovely. And yeah, I think, sometimes these are the things that like you might not see in yourself, but when you be them, other people can see them. And so I'll gratefully receive that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're
And
very welcome.
And I love it because the first time I met you, I think it was in Byron Bay, and I'm pretty sure we met up and ran bars on the beach one time.
Oh my
And
God, that was so amazing.
yeah, and I just remember thinking, wow, this lady is just like a bundle of joy. So very grateful to have you in my life.
Oh, wow. Cool. How does it get any better than this?
Yeah.
So, the topic of this podcast is the gift of a gentleman in the world. And it's just to say, like, super quickly, before I never saw men as a gift. There was, I actually, for a long time, I didn't like men, and there was no particular reason for it. There was just like a lot of distrust and a lot of things that I grew up with. And with the tools of access consciousness, I actually started to acknowledge that none of it was actually real. And I started to really see men in a totally different way. And there's something about the men that I've seen in access, a lot of them, that are like a true gentleman, and they're so different, they're very undefined. And there's something about it that even though we have a conversation going on with words, there's something on an energetic level that melts stuff that you didn't even know that you had. Is there
Yeah.
is that something
Yeah. I
you can
mean,
speak to?
well, first of all, just like, thank you for being willing to be vulnerable and be honest about, what it's been like for you with, like relating to men. Because it's like for many of us, I think that's one of the first things that we really have to look at if we'd like to have a different possibility in this area is being really brutally honest with yourself and actually looking at what is my point of view about being with about men or about women. And it's like, what's my
Yeah.
point of view about me, what's my point of view about me in relation to other people. And once you actually get clear on what that is for you, you can change it and have a different possibility. But so many of us go through the world hiding from what's actually true for us which doesn't allow us to have vulnerability with us, and then also doesn't allow for us to have that vulnerability with other people. So it takes a bit of courage, but it opens up an amazing possibility. So I highly encourage you all to have a look at that. And what if it wasn't wrong? What if it was, you know, like Ivy found out, you know, it probably doesn't even belong to you, but it's like,
No.
yeah, but you've got to start somewhere. And I love this topic, especially for me, is like everything to do with this starts with you. And it's like the world will start to change around you based on what you choose to change in your reality. And that's what I love about this, because it's empowering like you to have different choices, and those choices will open up like for you to have so much more in the world, and the people around you change, and it's just weird, and it just happens with ease, and like you said, it's undefined.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, oh, yes. I would actually like to, while we're at it, show this book for all the people that are not seeing this but will listen to this later. It's a book, Return of the Gentleman, written by Dr. Dane here. And it actually, he says in the beginning, like, I cannot even really define it, but if I had to sum up what being a gentleman means in one sentence, it would be, being a true gentleman is about being the greatest you can be as a man, whatever that looks like for you. And even like reading this, it's like it's so different than anything else, because and I guess it's for a lot of parts in this world where there's a lot of the men that I know of have like this macho going on, and to prove that they are men, and like having like lots of barriers against themselves and against me, what I'm perceiving. Is there something that you could talk about that, like those barriers? Because this is what I've been noticing when I'm, because I like talking to, I like talking with people, or like meeting new people. Like I work a lot online, so I go to different places, and then I meet new people, and in particularly men. There's like I just want to say like hi, and then I notice there's all these weird stuff going on in their world, because they don't know what to think of me. Am I like a dumb bimbo, or am I like, what's her thing? or
Yeah.
they want yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, well, just a little bit of context for you all. So a little while ago, four of my friends and I were invited to by Dane, Gary, Brendan, and Simone to do some classes based on the book Return of the Gentleman and the Gentleman's Club. And so it's been an exploration for us, delving into this topic and starting to do some classes and getting more information about things like this that Ivy's asking, of like, okay, so this is what I've noticed is going on, and how do I deal with it? Like, I know there's something different, there's something else here, but it's like, I'm not quite sure how to go about it. And so, yeah, that's what we have been exploring. And I highly recommend reading those books, The Return of the Gentleman by Dane, and also The Gentleman's Club by Gary Douglas, both really amazing books. Yeah. And so to address your question, so one of the things with so most of the men that are going to be interested in this are going to be men that are different, that are looking for something different, and that like and it might even be some men that have defined themselves as that macho guy in order to fit in, but it's like they've never quite fit in, and it's never totally made sense to them. But it's like, with that difference, often like a lot of what comes up in regards to men and women, like you're saying, is a lot of men think that if there's someone talking to them, then it's like a woman talking to them, then it's about, okay, does she have a partner? Is she interested? And I know this is like, but this is a lot of what goes on when a woman approaches a man, and they're like, a lot of the time it's so funny because someone was asking about this, like, how do you approach a man? And I'm like, well, yeah, most men are like afraid that if they approach a woman, it's going to be like, oh, does she have a boyfriend? Or all of these things. So there's all of this stuff that goes on that is unspoken, that people don't like really acknowledge, that stops people from having that like genuine connection of just like, hey, here I am, here you are, and what's actually possible from here. And so what you want to just recognize as well is that, like, when you don't have so many barriers based on all of that stuff, like based on, is this about sex, or, what's this about? When you're undefined and you're willing to have something different show up, it's like, that can be quite intimidating to some people. And it's like, you probably don't get it because you're just you. And it's like, that's just how you function in the world. But part of what you've got to do is start to acknowledge, okay, I'm different. I'm weird. I don't operate how everyone operates. And so it's also being willing to see what can be heard and what you can talk to, that someone can start to relate to open up like a conversation. And so quite often it's asking them questions about themselves to see what it is in their world that they enjoy, and then how can you talk to that. And then once they start to open up in that way, you'll start to sense their barriers go down, and they won't be like protecting or trying to maintain some sort of image they've decided they need to be, in order to be that macho guy, or in order to be what they've decided will attract you, or whatever it is. Like yeah, so sometimes it's just about opening that door for them to start to communicate with you in a way that they don't have to have so many barriers up.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like, does that also apply for a gentleman to approach women?
For sure. And it's like a lot of the a lot of the men like this that are a little bit different might tend to be a little bit more of the shy kind of guys, or guys that are not necessarily beating their chest in in the middle of a room going, here, look at me. But it's like, yes, as a man, if you're looking to have more of these like authentic nurturing relationships in your life, you also have to be willing to like lower your barriers and ask questions and start to create a connection from what because if you're really willing to look at it, what someone's willing to receive or not. And so you can, if you're like really unsure, the best way is to start by asking some questions.
Yeah. And like, I've also noticed in the world you have, and I think it's not just in particular to men and women, but you have like really nice women and men, and then you also have a little bit more the bitchy like. Is there like anything? Is there like anything like a tool or something to like how to attract more different people in your world? If I can like look at it myself, I used to have a lot of abusive men in my world, and that started changing by, like you said, by asking questions and asking for something different to show up. Like, what questions could you, as a man, as a gentleman, could you start asking for? What I'm in particularly looking at is having or inviting people into your life that will invite you to be the gentleman that you can be.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to ask you, it's like, what did you change with you that allowed something different to show up?
I actually had to be nicer to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for any of you like listening to this is one of the keys, because it's like we actually, and this is something that Dane just actually said in a class that I'm attending right now, is we actually invite people to treat us the way that we treat ourselves. And so it's the
Wow.
it's the kindness and the caring that you can have with you that actually invites the way that other people will treat you in the world. If you're not willing to be stomped on, no one's going to stomp on you. But if you have a little red flag above your head going, stomp on me here, it's an invitation for people to stomp on you. And this is not a reason and a justification for abuse. This is just looking at, how am I treating myself, and what's that actually creating in the world? And like, what am I actually choosing for me and for my life? Because this is part of this class where, as well, and just this conversation is where people, you have to be looking at what's my relationship with me, because so much of what we've been taught is to put all of this stuff outside of us and for it to be about how someone else is treating us. But it's like, we're the only ones that can choose something different for us. And then what tends to show up when you do choose something else for you is the people around you change and start to treat you differently. So
Wow.
yeah, it never really, it doesn't make linear logical sense, but just give it a try, because what's the worst that could happen if you started to treat you how you desire to be treated in the world?
Actually, one of the things that pops up with this that you're saying is, like, since last year, I've been really looking at it for myself, then to change my relationship with money, my relationship with my body, and then also like the environment that I'm living in. And then, like, I don't know if you can call it the word livelihood, but what is that word where you look at like how you live, your house, your bed, like all these things that, like, the way you travel, the way you move around, and then relationships. And then I started to really look at all these four aspects to like really treat myself differently. Because like if you're not choosing it for you, who will do it?
Yeah.
If you're not choosing it, and
Yeah.
it's like
And
something that
well, I was just gonna say, it can seem like, oh, it can seem to some people maybe like, oh, that's like such hard work, or I can't believe I have to do that, but it's actually like, what a gift that you actually have that possibility to create that with you. It's like, it's actually, every choice that we make is creating our reality. And so we have this amazing, like, infinite possibility of choices to make and create from, and we have the gift of choosing from it every day.
yeah. Yeah, and for everybody watching and listening to this that don't believe that you actually have a choice, is there something that you could talk to that, like, because for years I actually thought that this is as good as it gets, while being really deeply frustrated and angry and always being on the verge of eruption. Like, I literally thought for most of my life, like, fuck, this is it. And I was so angry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, the thing with choice is like the way to get more choices in your life is to start in wherever you are in your life, whether you're like, you know, whether you're really happy with your life and you just know that there's got to be more, or whether you're like down in the dumps and, you know, having the worst time possible. Wherever you are, there is something different possible, and it's just start choosing, just start making different choices. What different choice can I make today to create a different reality? And just go for it. And it's like every time you make a choice, you open up the doors to other choices that you can choose from. So yeah,
I love that, and I love that question. It's one of the questions that I have in my bathroom, a bit similar. Like, what choice can I make today that will create more consciousness right away? And then you can apply it to create more consciousness with relationships, to create more consciousness with money, to create more consciousness with whatever you'd like to change. Because like when you add consciousness to the mix, you open it up, you make it visible. So you can change anything when you add consciousness to the mix. Yeah, because you can no longer hide it anymore. It's out there in the open.
Yeah.
That's
And
maybe good news and maybe some bad news.
and everything has, you know, when we talk about like consciousness, it's like the chair that you're sitting on right now has consciousness, and it's like there is a world around us that functions in a really different way than we used to. And so I think part of this as well about exploring who you are is also allowing yourself to like receive the gifts of the universe. And it's like anywhere that we take a point of view about, you know, someone or something, man, woman, or child, is where we refuse the gifts that the universe can be and the contribution that the universe can be to us. So you know, this is where I see this as being this one area where there is in particular just so much craziness and confusion, misinformation, misidentification of so much, and so there's just a lot more available here. And yeah, I'm really excited to explore it some more.
Wow. Yeah, like what points of views about being a man can we all drop right now? Men, including men and women, all the points of views that we have about men and gentlemen and every other man, that if we let them go, we have a different possibility, so we can receive the gifts gentlemen can be. Wow, and I see we're already at half an hour, although we started a bit later, so we can just
I'm happy to keep going. Yeah.
Well, you talked about that there are multiple classes. I also know that for everybody that's out there, including men and women, there's actually a few different stuff that they can start playing with, which is the 2 books that you've already mentioned. And there's also like a Facebook group that is called Ask a Gentleman. And I think it's with the 4 people that you mentioned before. So you, Romain, and then I forgot the other 2.
So Mark and also Hannes. And
Yes.
yeah, it started and it still is a place where you can ask anything that you would like to ask. So, you know, for so many people, they're like, they have questions about, you know, receiving from men or like whatever it is. And you can ask in there, and then we'll do a Facebook Live once a week and we just address the different questions, and we have a great time. We don't make it serious. We just have fun. And yeah, it's been really amazing. Everyone's been willing to be really vulnerable and ask amazing questions. So
Yes, and I've listened to a few of them, and I think it's also like a great way to see gentlemen at work. Like I learn a lot by just seeing people, or like people being people. So it's a real treat. And one of the things that that you've told me that I actually haven't checked out yet is a website. You guys have a website that is called thegents.club. I will be adding all this information later on, so you can guys just like click and choose. What is the website? Is that like an educational resource, or what's
Yeah, it's
happening there?
everything. I mean, you can find all of our classes on there. We also have some podcasts and things that we've done, and the main place, if you'd like to interact with us, is the Facebook group Ask a Gentleman. That's where I would say to go if you'd like to, say hi and
Yeah.
you've got a burning question that you'd like to ask.
And
Yeah.
people can follow you, hey? I think you guys have a Facebook page and an
Yeah,
Instagram account.
we have Facebook, Instagram. So just search for the Gents Club and you'll find us.
To receive daily inspiration.
Yeah.
There's something else. Oh, yeah, yeah. So one of the things that I also would like to add, so I said in the beginning that you're an Access Consciousness certified facilitator, and you're also an XMen certified facilitator. And like, I'm not sure why I'm adding this, but there's something, is there something about like X-Men that, because I know you give these classes worldwide. Is there something that you can tell, just like a little snippet about like gentlemen slash X-Men?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I would say, I am, well, like, so yeah, growing up for me, like, was very weird in this world, and it's like exploring these tools, especially for me, has just, like, I cannot tell you how different I am now as to, when I was like just so shy and so closed off and everything. And so, like, just even to be here talking to you all, being present, you know, happy, creating my life. It's like this has all come from using these tools with X-Men and Return of the Gentleman. And the name of your podcast is like perfect for perfect for X-Men. And so maybe we can do another one of these one day, and I can talk a little bit more about the X-Men, because I'm very passionate about it. And I actually just found out today that I'll now be doing the 2-day classes around the world too. So very excited about that. But yeah, it's like, I think X-Men are actually leaders, and it's not leaders from the way that a lot of people would have been taught that a leader leads, and the way that they lead, but that in combination with Return of the Gentleman, which I also see as like being, it's like, if you could choose greatness for your life, it's like, why wouldn't you? And so it's like, for all of you, whether you're a man, a woman, or a child, it's like, if you would like to live your life from the greatness that you actually are and that you have available to you, like, what if you could be the leader in your life of the greatness that you know is possible, and have that be an inspiration to other people to choose whatever that is for them. It's not going to be the same for any of us, but we all know something.
I can really, really see that in you. And one of the things that like is one of the things that comes up with that is like, you do it from like total space, and there's no force in your world, there's no pushing people, there is no pushing buttons, there is no proving in your world, and yet you're such a great inspiration and leader in your own unique way.
Well, I think I know our people too well. If you tell them to do something, they do the exact opposite. So I have, you know, and I also have some amazing inspirations in my life of people that are willing to choose to be them, be all of them, and have that be the inspiration to a different possibility. So that's what I'm interested in. Yeah.
So, like, so I know you like playing with tools, and then you're also teaching them to people. Like, so with the creation of your life and being where you are right now today, like, if you could share with us like a few of your like favorite go-to tools to create your day, to create your life, and actually create your future, what would you share with us right now?
Yeah. So I mean, so there are three things I can think of right now that I'm using the most is being the question. So creating your life from a continual expansion. So not coming to a fixed, not having conclusion in your, but really looking for greater. And part of that is like asking questions and being a question that continually open for more. And that might not make a whole lot of sense to you right now, but just of your world expanding, and whatever you can do or be to contribute to that, just choosing that as much as you can. And then the other thing to add to that, which I've been doing a lot as well, is lately is like, okay, so everything that I did yesterday, everything doesn't allow out, and then just go for it. Like create life today greater than it was yesterday. And what's the other one? There was one more. Yeah, choice. Choosing. Always choosing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like the more you just see how many more choices you have available, and it becomes like asking a worry and a difficulty, and then it's like it becomes a gift, and it becomes a contribution, and it becomes a place of like, wow, I can choose this. What else can I choose?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for all of this. um, I'm sort of not having any brain cells to steer this. Well, one of the things that I would like to add for people who are new on this podcast, or who have never heard of asking a question, or have never heard of access consciousness or consciousness, I will add that link. Is you can go to www.accessconsciousness.com, and one of the things that I always like people to let them know about is the bars. That was the first thing that really like opened up so much for me. So yeah, going to I think it's also accessconsciousness.com/bars, where you can receive a bar session or go to a bars class, and that will open up so much more of all these fixed points of views that we have about being a gentleman, about not being a gentleman, about women, about what your life is, what is possible, what is not possible, and when you really implement the bars, and then with questions which you learn in a bars class, you have like a really cool manual with a lot of cool questions to play with, and that's also a great place to start if you're one of those people that are like, fuck, I want something different.
Yeah, and you know, what's the worst that could happen if you gave yourself an hour and a half, you know, just for you to explore something different? It's like you can't lose. So, yeah.
Totally.
Thank you
Cool.
so much for having me on. And it's like I just want to acknowledge you as well, because it's like these, you know, like this podcast is just such a contribution to people having more of this available in the world, and you're a gift, and I'm very grateful to you, so thank you.
Thank you. Cool. And well, we'll probably hear more about you with a topic around XMen. And oh, we actually had another podcast about that. I think it was the previous one with Heather Nichols, and which is
Cool.
a topic. And then we can totally go over that with a totally cool, different topic about XMen.
Okay,
so,
great. And just on that, there are lots of amazing XMen facilitators, and you can find them at accessconsciousness.com/XMen as well.
yes, I will add that link as well. Well, that's it. I'm actually not really good at goodbye, so.
Me either. I'm just like, all right, awesome. And it's like, I'm going to see you soon anyway. So,
Yes. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Bye.